It's going to be another late night with the top Democrats running for president facing off in another debate ahead of Saturday's caucuses in Nevada. For the first time, former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg will be part of the action and is likely to take some hits after a multi-million-dollar ad blitz has helped launch him into third place in a new national poll ahead of both Elizabeth Warren and Pete Buttigieg. Buttigieg may take some heat as well after his stronger-than-expected finishes in Iowa and New Hampshire, but he's also been fielding some pretty personal attacks offstage lately, particularly from conservative talk radio host Rush Limbaugh, among others.
They're looking at Mayor Pete. 37-year-old gay guy, Mayor South Bend, loves to kiss his husband on the debate stage. And they got to be looking at that. And they've got to be saying that despite all the great progress and despite all the great wokeness and despite all the great ground that's been covered, America's still not ready.
The idea of the likes of Rush Limbaugh or Donald Trump lecturing anybody on family values? I mean, I'm sorry, but one thing about my marriage is it's never involved me having to send hush money to a porn star after cheating on my spouse with him or her. So, they want to debate family values? Let's debate family values. I'm ready.
He may be ready, but is the nation? And is Buttigieg really the transformative candidate many hope him to be? I'm joined now by Rufus Gifford, former U.S. ambassador to Denmark, former finance director for the Obama re-election campaign. Great to see you.
Great to be back.
Sue O'Connell's a political commentator at NECN. Nice to see you. Bryan Rafanelli is the award-winning event planner behind Chelsea Clinton's wedding, several Obama state dinners, and much more. What's the book called again? A Party?
A Great Party.
A Great Party, Bryan. It's great to see all three of you. So whether you support him or not, you're a Biden person. You're a Buttigieg person. Who knows what you are? Is he a transformative figure there, Rufus?
Oh, I think he has to be, right? I mean, I'm 45 years old. I never dreamed I'd see an openly gay presidential candidate at this point, and certainly in the final, certainly in the top tier of the candidates, absolutely.
So does it matter how he does now that he's been out there and been a real player?
I think it does. I do. I mean, look, it's emotional for someone like me who's been involved in politics for years and years and years. And remember, not as long as these guys have been involved, but have been.
They're much older. That's why. Yeah.
No, it's not. But the fact of the matter is, this candidacy is historic, and it's remarkable to see how well
So you've been so-so on Buttigieg's actual candidacy. That's fair to say, is it not?
Yes,
but how about the transformative thing?
If his campaign ended tomorrow, which I hope it doesn't, he will have. I mean, this is one for the history books. He has done a great job. He has represented. He has brought people together. He has been the kind of candidate I think the LGBTQ plus community would love to have representing and moving forward.
So it's obvious what your answer is going to be. You're one of his biggest fundraisers in America.
Yes, I am.
Are you not? So who's giving to this campaign? What's the demographic of the contributors you've been able to rope in?
Everyone is giving to the campaign, and that's just not a party line. The bottom line is all different sectors, folks from different means are giving to Pete Buttigieg, and that's fantastic.
You
That's
didn't design the wine cave, did you? I was just
He has designed a wine cave. It's just not that wine
You know,
cave.
about a week or two ago during the Weinstein trial, it's still on, I offended many viewers by talking about something that I think is real. You know, whether the complaining witnesses in this case were not the perfect victims like prosecutors like, because they had complex lives in many ways. Prosecutors like the, quote, perfect victim. So I'll offend people again tonight. Buttigieg, in many ways, is the perfect first openly gay presidential candidate. Is he not? Do I offend you by saying that? I think I do. But nevertheless, he is, isn't he?
Well, I sell perfection, so of course he is. And when you look at Pete, when the story is told, his operation is like none other. What he has set forth to do, and all the fundamentals of the Pete campaign, which keep coming out about respect and character and community, kindness, of course, he is the perfect candidate to come out.
He really is, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. And many of the things that he was able to accomplish, and I'm not into judging people when they come out or what happens when they come out or what the process is, but he was able to accomplish a lot of things in his life, partially because he wasn't openly gay or hadn't acknowledged that he was gay. And that allowed him to get to where he is today. That's not a judgment on Pete Buttigieg. That's a judgment on society and where people were and where they have been in the past. Hopefully, moving forward, there could be, somebody who's openly LGBTQ from the get-go and can accomplish the things that he was able to accomplish.
So while she's not judgmental about, I think you said when he came out, Masha Gessen in the New Yorker was big time judgmental, saying basically it's only after he was elected, only after he served in Iraq, only after the national mood on homosexuality changes, I think what she said. And she says something at the end of her piece. He's sort of an old politician in a young man's body. He's a straight politician in a gay man's body. He basically make the case, this guy's not gay enough, sort of like your guy, Barack Obama, was not black enough in the minds of many people.
Yeah, Jim, I reject that argument. And he's not my candidate. He's not. And I like him very much. I've supported him financially as well because I believe in this. But I completely reject this whole idea that he's not gay enough. And I would never, ever compare my coming out story at 18. I can't imagine not coming out until I was 34 or however old he was. I don't understand that. That doesn't matter. You don't judge other people's processes here. So I think it's a flawed argument.
Did either of you buy this notion?
Well,
or no?
I think there's the second. It's the children of the immigrants sort of story here that we're talking about. Immigrants come over to America. They work really hard and they want to have their kid have things, and their kid doesn't go through the same challenges or struggles that they did. And so the immigrant parents are a little bit judgmental of their American child and all the luxuries that he or she has. I think that's somewhat of culturally what's happening.
What got you on board to begin with? I should have asked you at the beginning.
Actually, I got a call from a friend who's in the campaign.
Did you know him before, by the way?
Absolutely didn't know him
Okay.
before. I had
met him.
folks tell me when he ran for DNC chair how dynamic he was, and I was like, so the call came. I respected the person who called me, and I took the call, just like I do every single day, by the way, from yet another politician who's running for office, and heard the pitch, and I liked the pitch, and so I went for it. But this whole idea of when he came out, what does that matter? It doesn't matter. That's a benchmark in LGBTQ world? No way.
You all agreed about how transformative this candidacy is, but is it made less so by the fact that in another community that's been underrepresented in American politics for years, the African American community, he is not accepted at all? I mean, you've all heard this, I think it was in November, Jim Clyburn, highest ranking black in the Congress from South Carolina, had this to say to Dana Bash on CNN about Buttigieg's struggle with black voters in South Carolina, his state, because he's gay. Here's Clyburn.
Well, that's a generational issue. I know of a lot of people my age who feel that way. I'm not going to sit here and tell you otherwise, because I think everybody knows that's an issue. But I'm saying it's an issue not the way it used to be. My own grandson is very much for him.
And by the way, other African Americans who are not crazy about Buttigieg, it has nothing to do with being gay. It's the fact they don't like how he handled the white cop killing the black guy and that sort of thing.
This whole idea with the black community, I think, is a fake narrative. Period.
Why? How
Bottom
so?
line. Because it's just perpetuated. Pete Buttigieg needs to be introduced to the country. He was introduced in Iowa, door to door, New Hampshire, door to door, now South Carolina. If you look at polls in Virginia right now, Pete's popping above Amy, above Sanders in the black community.
And I would argue, though, that the African-American community in South Carolina that people are speaking to aren't any more or less homophobic than the white people are.
Absolutely.
They're just more open about it because they understand what the stakes are.
I think that's a wonderful point, because if you look at the Washington Post poll, a national poll done most recently, matching each of the Democrats up against Trump, the only one who actually is just within the margin of error behind Trump is Buttigieg, by the way, and that's the full population. So there still is an issue, is there not, with the American people being ready for a gay president? Getting back to your first point,
two really quick things. One, I think the whole narrative that African Americans won't accept a gay president is actually racist. I think just like there's a generational issue with white people, young white people are more inclined to support a gay candidate than old white people. Second, I think that Pete, to Bryan's point, Pete has got to prove himself here. The narrative is absolutely out there that he cannot get African American or Hispanic support, people of color more broadly. He's got to prove himself, and maybe he can, maybe he can't. We'll see in the next couple of weeks.
we only have 30 seconds. Getting back to the first question, is America ready for a gay president in 2020?
This is how I feel.
Quickly.
Maybe. I will say this. I think we need to have the conversation. I think we're starting to have it. I think it needs to be front and center.
Are they ready?
NBC did a poll last week that showed that people think they are. They think other people aren't. So I think once people stop thinking that other people aren't, we can all agree that we are.
And we'll finish with you. Are they?
Of course they're ready. They're ready for the best qualified candidate.
Perfectly said, Brian. It's great to see you. Thanks so
see
much,
you.
Sue. As always, pleasure to see you, Ambassador. Be well.